So today is going to be a little bit different because it's not ASMR, which I'm sure you've figured out. But I decided I was going to do something on what to expect in your first apartment and how to prepare for your first apartment. Like, this isn't about packing or even what to bring. It's just the steps of what you should do whenever you move into your first apartment that I wish I would have done, or I wish I would have known, or what helped me specifically. The first piece of advice, which I think is the most important, which I really wish I would have done before I moved everything I owned in here, is clean your apartment before you move things in. And cleaning your apartment, you might be thinking, well, I just moved in. Isn't it already clean? No, it's not. It really isn't. Depending on the tenants you had in the apartment, managers that you had, it could be anywhere from spotless, just had a professional cleaning crew, to it's a disaster, it's exactly the way the last tenants left it, and it has been sitting here for months untouched. I didn't think that was going to be a problem when I first moved into this apartment. I've been living here for about, I'd say, a month, or it's going to be a month in about a week. I haven't been living here for very long, and I didn't think it was going to be a problem because they told us that they require professional cleaning of the carpets, and I thought, well, surely if they did the carpets, that must mean the whole place is clean. So we moved everything in, and then we realized the place was not clean. And whenever you do clean your apartment, you're going to have to clean things you wouldn't expect to clean. And what I mean by that is you're going to want to wipe down door frames and door handles. We didn't know that our door frames were white because they were so heavily discolored by, like, this is gonna sound gross, but the body oil from months and months of just hands grabbing the door frame and never being cleaned. That means fridge and freezer and stove handles you're also going to want to wipe down and maybe scrub a little bit. We didn't use much. We have just like a general bleach cleaner and like a window cleaner, and we managed to do almost the entire house with that. You're going to want to look at the vents, because if your vents are clogged, not only is that just an air quality hazard, but also it could impede how well your AC is working. And especially whenever you're moving in August, you really want your AC to be working. We took a bottle brush to ours. It was actually completely clogged. Some of them were. Just on the safe side, you're going to want to re-clean your entire bathroom. A lot of really odd things you wouldn't expect to clean. Things like wiping down the front entrance, which isn't the entranceway, but where it is outside, which keeps the entire place much cleaner than you would have expected it. Wiping down the woodwork if you have time. This actually leads into my second point, which is checking for vermin. A lot of people don't want to even entertain the idea that your apartment, which is like your dream space, you have your Pinterest boards ready, you have your Amazon wish list ready to go for Christmas. This place is going to look exactly like the Sorry Girls did it up. You don't want to think about maybe that place has roaches or ants or spiders or mice, rats, crickets, the list goes on. So you're going to want to check for that. And how you check for that, I'm sorry to say, is you have to do a little bit of research. You're going to want to look up pictures of what the eggs look like, what the droppings look like, things to expect whenever you have them. And you're going to want to do a little bit of checking around your apartment to see if there's any evidence that they lived there. One of the most important things you can do is to pull out your fridge and to pull out your stove and to look behind it, because usually that's where roaches nest, and that's also where rats and mice will nest. So look out for those there. If your apartment has a bed which has been provided for you, you're going to want to do a bed bug check. You do that by lifting the covers, looking along the seams of the mattress. Are there any brown dots? Are there any little specklings of blood which look strange? underneath of the mattress, the bed frame. Does the bed frame or the box spring have those same red dots? Do they have any sort of strange dirt-looking substance, which could be blood or leftovers, remnants of bed bugs? Because you do not want to move into a place with bed bugs. Once you have them, they're nearly impossible to get rid of, and they're getting more and more difficult to get rid of. So that's one thing you have to check. We didn't have that problem. We moved into this apartment. I'm just saying that as like a general warning. Not everything that's on this list was in my apartment. It's just something that you should think of. The third thing is to live with what you have. I mentioned this a little bit before, but whenever you move into your first apartment, at least I know that me and my roommate did this, we sort of had all of these really grand ideas about what the place would look like, how beautiful we could make it. And after about a day and a half of living here, we realized that our grand ideas of all white sparkling kitchens and living rooms we could entertain 20 or 30 people in was a little bit overblown. However, you can live with what you have, and you can learn to make things really nice. You have to live efficiently. You can't be driven by aesthetics, which is a little bit sad. However, it needs to happen. Things which might seem more practical is something that's better than something which is more beautiful. But there are ways that you can make your living space a little bit prettier. For example, we didn't really have the budget necessary to buy chairs to sit in, but what we did have was hand-me-down lawn chairs, which is what I'm sitting on right here. This is this Kelly Green lawn chair. So a way that we incorporated aesthetics with what we already had was we just covered it up with blankets we already had, and if you wrap it properly, it makes it look a little bit like a studio chair, which gives the whole place this intentional sort of feeling. You can also visit thrift stores, which I'm sure almost all of you know about, but it's less about going to thrift stores, more about what kind of thrift stores you go to. I don't recommend buying anything cloth or upholstered at a thrift store because of the risk of bed bugs and other vermin and things like that. However, wooden furniture is fine if you wipe it down and clean it beforehand. The camera is actually sitting on top of a wooden table that we got at a Habitat for Humanity restore, which look for one in your area because they are fantastic. Their prices are so good, and they really offer a second life for a piece of furniture which is well loved but still in great condition. And we wiped it down, fantastic. It looks really nice, it works perfectly. We got a lot of things from that store which really helped living in the apartment, and it wasn't as expensive as going to Amazon or an IKEA even. But we also found some IKEA things at a thrift store, which I thought was really interesting. Check your local shops to see what they have. I'm gonna move the camera a little bit because we managed to find this Monstera plant, which was such a big dream for us to own. We managed to find it at a local store for a fraction of the cost of what they typically are. So there's a lot of different ways that you can find things that you need or you may want in town with just a little bit of looking. The fourth thing to talk about is privacy. We live in a unique part of town. It's pretty high traffic, especially at night, so we wanted to do everything in our power for privacy, which meant getting light filtering blinds. We are getting something which guards the door. It just adds something a little extra to our lock. One thing I really like that we got was pixel contact paper. What that does is it pretty much pixelates the image if you look through our window, so you would just be able to see just like one pale shape for me, for instance. And if any light shines in, it actually casts like rainbows against the wall. It's really pretty, it's really effective. Especially if you're on a ground floor, you're really going to want to take your privacy and your safety very seriously. So that means things like avoiding window units or window fans, box fans, because of the risk of somebody just pushing them in or pulling them out, being able to break into your house. Dowel rods are a really good way to guard your windows. Windows can be lifted, locks can be undone, but if you have a dowel rod on your window, which goes from the top to the ceiling, it makes it so that it's impossible to open your windows without removing it, which I thought was very helpful, very comforting to have. Making sure that your doors are locked at all times is another big thing, especially if your doors are a little bit tricky. It might be, this is going to sound a little juvenile, but it might be safe to practice locking your door a few times just so you get, because every door and every lock is different. It might be different from the ones at your house or at your dorm room that you used to live at last year. Just getting the feel of that so you don't accidentally leave your door unlocked one day, come back, someone took your dog, something like that. And now this is just the part for general random advice. Do I really have any? I don't know if I do.